ClancyPasta presents I've been stuck in school detention for 3 years. By the middle of the second night, my trousers were soaked. Written by nslewis and narrated by Clancy. If you haven't read my last post, I'll catch you up. My name is Emmett Emerson, and I'm stuck in what has to be the world's worst school detention. Regular detention sucks enough already, but I've been here for 3 years. Also, they keep me in a hole in the basement all day, and usually only let me out at night. And at night, the monsters come out too. I don't mean that figuratively. I saw one of them eat a kid's face off once. That wasn't in my last post, but his name was Jason. And just when I thought we could team up and get out of this hellhole, he wandered a little too close to one of the windows, and a wrangler got him. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry about that. I'm just psyched that my last post actually made it through, and a flood of people responded. I've got hope for the first time in at least a year. Does it suck that some of you are telling me that there's no record of me existing online? You bet it does. Does it suck that some of you are telling me that my school burned down recently? And that really, I am in hell? Again, yes. It sucks very much. I don't know if you're messing with me or if that stuff is true, but either way, it's at least good to hear from actual people again. Assuming you are real, and this isn't just a trick set up by the school. The lunch lady isn't so bad, but she's a little out there. And Jason. Like I said, I didn't get to know Jason very well before he got his face eaten off. Other than that, it's been mostly me, all alone with monsters for the past 3 years. Some others have come and gone, usually in a horrible way. But mostly, I've been alone. So if you read my last post, thank you. And thank you for trying to help. I've read all of your comments, and I'm feeling good. As good as I can. A lot of you offered up ways that I might escape. I've been here 3 years. I've tried pretty much everything that you guys suggested. Some of the stuff took me years to come up with. So I'm kind of blown away that you all came up with it right away. If you were here as long as me, I'm sure a lot of you would have found a way out by now. I thought about responding to all of the comments, but I figured it would be best to just continue my story. That way, you can see more of what I'm up against, and maybe you'll come up with some more theories and suggestions. So here's how the second night went. When I woke up that second night, I had no idea where I was. I was groggy from the gas, and it was pitch dark. I started shouting for help. My voice died as soon as it left my mouth, sucked in by the walls of the room I was in. I mean, I could hear myself, but there was absolutely no reverb. It was like the darkness was swallowing up the sound. I knew in my gut that nobody could hear me. After a few minutes, the memories of the previous night started to trickle in, and I felt the terror all over again. 1 second, I was looking at the janitor, with those horrible, crooked spikes growing out of his skull, and the next, I was here. I kept shouting even though I knew it was useless, because it was all that I could do. After a few minutes, I heard a loud creak, and a hatch door above my head slowly opened up. I wasted no time in clawing my way the hell out of that hole. I found myself in what I guessed was the basement of the school. It was dark in there, but I could see the boiler in the corner with a bunch of little neon lights buzzing away. I looked around in the darkness a bit for something useful, but it seemed like mostly junk. Then I saw it, pressed up against the wall. I wetted myself for the second time in 2 nights. I could see the dark outline of massive claws and several insect-like legs. I took a step back and almost had a heart attack when I bumped into an old desk. Where are the stairs? I wondered, not idly. Then the room was suddenly flooded with lights, and I almost laughed. It was an old, dusty Louis the Lobster costume. Louis was our school mascot. Just this ridiculous, lumbering, fuzzy red thing. I turned around and saw the stairs. I was halfway there when I heard the snap. I whipped my head around. There was nothing there. Just a bunch of old, useless bullshit. I'm starting to lose it, I told myself. Understandably so. I gotta get out of this school. I kept walking to the stairs. This time, I heard 2 snaps and a skittering noise. Now, when I turned around, I saw Louis the Lobster crawling towards me. His pinchers were going wild, opening and closing, hungry. I watched in a mixture of disbelief and horror as he crushed the desk I had just bumped into between his mighty claws. The desk splintered into thousands of pieces. I ran, taking the stairs 2 at a time. I heard a crunch and felt the railing wobble. When I looked back, I saw that Louis had begun pulling himself up the railing, digging in with his claws and pushing off with his many legs. And he was moving fast. I made it to the door just in time. I could feel the air rushing behind my ass as the snap of Louis's claws was silenced by the closing door. I kept running down the hall and back towards the entrance. I'd break that goddamn door down if I had to. When I got to the door, I almost added some solid waste to go along with all the piss in my pants. The janitor was there, mopping the floor, whistling away. His back was to me, and I was at least relieved to see that there were no spikes coming out of his head. But when he turned to look at me, I saw those same 2 empty white holes where his eyes should be. "Can't walk here, bub," he said in that crazy whisper that didn't actually come from his mouth. "Wet floor. Not safe." I didn't need any more convincing. No way was I prepared to take on the janitor. At least, not then. I backed away, my mind whirling. The lunch lady, I thought. Sure, she had fed me a cut of what was almost certainly human flesh, but at least she had seemed willing to help me out of there. I ran to the cafeteria. The lights were on, but I didn't see anybody there. "Hello?" No answer. I looked around and saw a tray of steaming food on one of the tables. There was a note next to it. I walked over and read it. "A growing boy needs his strength. Eat up, my dear. This is my best creation yet." On the tray was a big plate of some more of those awesome mashed potatoes, some beans, and some kind of soup. The soup was green. Something was floating on top. I didn't look closely enough to determine if it was a baby carrot or a human finger. I picked up the bowl of soup and put it on a different table. Then I sat down and dug into the mashed potatoes and beans. It was all so delicious. I wolfed it all down. Now what? I wondered. The windows. The previous evening, I'd been too chicken shit to jump out of a second-story window when Mr. Hillrow locked me into one of the classrooms. But way back then, I thought that I'd just be here for a few hours. If I'd known I was facing 3 years, at least, I would have dove out head first, letting the glass shards tear my flesh to shreds and letting my bones break upon impact. Now I was ready to get the hell out, and I was on the first floor, so I wouldn't even have to worry about broken bones. I finished up the lunch lady's special, or at least everything except the green soup, and took my tray to the trash can. I decided on room 108. I had algebra there, and I knew that there was a big tall window in that room. I crept down the hall, trying to sneak past the janitor, who was still pretending to mop that same spot on the floor. "The boy shall not pass," he said, from behind me. I made it to room 108 and tried the door. It was unlocked. As soon as I entered, the lights turned on. The first thing that I saw was the chalkboard. There was a piece of goddamn chalk just floating in there, writing out a message. It said A is for atrocity, B is for because, C is for child, D is for dared, E is for escaped, F is for fucked. I tried my best to pretend that I hadn't just seen that and turned to the window. What I saw there made the whole chalkboard thing look like a stroll in the park. Standing in front of the window was a hideous creature, with gray and scaly skin, standing about as tall as an adult person. But it wasn't a person. It had maybe a dozen arms like tentacles, almost. Like a cross between tentacles and arms, just writhing away, feeling around. The thing had no eyes, but it had a nose, or rather, 2 flat oblong holes where the nose should be, and a mouth. A red tongue wiggled over crooked and sharp-looking fangs, like a worm dancing on knives. When I saw the first wrangler, at least that's what I call them, I pissed myself for the second time that night, third time altogether. I booked it out of room 108, my mind screaming for some kind of way out. A phone, I thought. There's got to be a phone. I know there is. In the office. Getting into the office meant that I'd have to pass by the janitor again. But his job seemed to be to cock-block the front door, so I thought I had a chance. At the school, there is a reception desk, out in the open, right by the main entrance. Just behind it is the main office, where they do the announcements. I figured there had to be a phone there. I mean, you call the school, somebody's got to answer, right? I kicked myself for not thinking it through the night before. I'd wasted hours just sitting by the front entrance, waiting for school to open again. It doesn't matter, I told myself. You figured it out now, and that's all that counts. I snuck past the janitor and made it to the door of the front office. There was a little window in the door, the same as most of the other doors in the school. I looked in and couldn't see anything. It was dark in there. My brain screamed, "Too dark." Just as my hand was on the doorknob, I noticed a pinprick of light coming from inside the room. That's when it hit me. It wasn't dark inside the room at all. The door was just covered in spiders. Thousands of pure black spiders, so dense that they looked like darkness itself. I released the door handle and took a step back. I've always been terrified of spiders. In Maine, most spiders are harmless to humans, but these ones looked particularly nasty, and given all of the other horrors in the school, I figured they'd probably paralyze me with one bite, and then slowly eat me alive while I watched helplessly. Still, I had to see if there was a phone in there. I grabbed the door and opened it just enough to have a look inside. There was a phone in there, all right, crawling with spiders, just like every other inch of the room. The walls, the ceiling, the floor, spiders everywhere. On the floor, they were probably about a foot deep, crawling over each other, just this undulating black mass of massive, hungry spiders. Nope. I gently closed the door and walked away. There has to be another way. I wandered around the school in a terrified state. As I looked around, I saw a wrangler standing in front of each window, their sickening appendages doing a slow dance, reaching and feeling for prey. Windows were out, unless I felt up to challenging one of those things. Front door was out, unless I felt like taking on the janitor. The phone was out unless I found a giant can of bug spray somewhere. But there had to be another way. What is this nightmare, I wondered. Is this all really because I dressed up a dildo and put it on Mr. Hilro's desk? Eventually, I found myself in the gym. I heard the echoing slap of a basketball repeatedly hitting the court, but I couldn't see anything. Ghost basketball? The hairs on my neck shot up, and I hurried through to the locker room. By then, I was pretty ripe with piss and sweat and whatnot. I needed to clean up. I walked warily past the rows of lockers, remembering the locker monsters from the night before. Each one gave a gentle rattle as I walked past, letting me know they were in there, but not coming for me, for the moment. There was an aluminum baseball bat propped up in the corner. I grabbed it and headed for the showers. I got naked and washed myself with one hand, and I held the bat in the other, keeping my eyes peeled the whole time. Then I washed my clothes. When I was done, I dried myself off with a towel and dried my clothes off under the hot air blower meant to dry your hands. It took forever, but by the time I was dressed again, I felt refreshed and ready to take on the goddamn school and get out of there. That's when the gas came in through the vent. So that was night 2 out of, 1,000 plus? I realize there's not much here to build grand theories on. I just wanted to give you guys more of a sense of what I'm up against here. This school does not want me to leave. As to who or what is behind all of this, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe next time I'll jump ahead a couple years and tell you about my time with Jason. That's when a few things started to click together for me, and maybe you guys can help me solve the puzzle. Meanwhile, please keep thinking of ways to help get me out. It really sucks in here. On that note, I better get moving again. I'm going to try out later for Reddit so that this can post during the day. I hope it works. And I hope that whatever's clacking its way down the hall towards the computer lab right now doesn't catch me and do something like tear the eyeballs out of my head. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. I want to give a huge thanks to all of my supporters over at Patreon and YouTube memberships. Your support makes these narrations possible, and I appreciate it a ton. If you'd like to join these lovely ghouls, you can head on over to my Patreon at patreon.com/ClancyPasta, or click the join button below to become a member. Through Patreon, you can gain access to extra videos, on-screen thanks in the end credits of every video, personal shoutouts in a special video once a month, autographed stickers, merch store discounts, exclusive Discord roles, and much, much more. And if you'd like creepy cool shirts, make sure to head on over and check out my official merch store, creepycoolshirts.com, for some awesome tees, hoodies, stickers, and more. Alright, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great night. Cheers.